안녕하세요 여러분들. Hello and welcome to episode 55 of Korean with David. So today we're going to do one of these episodes where I kind of talk about my experience here in Korea. So today's topic is, what is it like as a foreigner in Korea? Korea is a very special area to be in, especially since I got lucky enough to be in Seoul. In Seoul, when I first came here, it was kind of strange. There were lots of people looking at me like I was an animal in a zoo, and as you walk by people on the streets, you'll hear kids a lot of times like, "엄마, 외국인이야," like, "Mom, there's a foreigner." And at first it really kind of made me angry because in the US, when we're raised, we learn, don't say things like that. Don't say like, "Oh, there's an Asian person. Oh, there's a African person. Oh, there's a white person." We learn, don't say those things. But in Korea, it's a little bit more open because, again, back when I first came, it wasn't that big of a deal, where today there's more foreigners, so it's more common today. So, I really disliked being seen in that way, where I was like an animal in a zoo. But it was kind of eye-opening as well at how kind of old the culture is and how it hasn't really advanced, where today it's definitely more open. More and more people are showing up on TV who are foreigners. They've got programs that are focused just on foreigners coming to Korea or foreigners living in Korea, foreigners' knowledge of Korea. There's a lot more information today. But when I first came, I was one of those rare foreigners who could, speak Korean and speak English. So a lot of people didn't know what to do or what to think. Now, if you know more about me, I'm half Korean, but I never learned growing up. My mom just never wanted to teach me. So when I came to Korea, in taxis, I would get that kind of look a lot as well. The taxi driver would pull up, I'd get in, tell him where I'm going, and he'd kind of look at me funny in the rearview mirror. And he'd kind of look back at the road, look back at me, and kind of puzzled, he would ask me, like, 어디 나라 사람이에요? Like, what country are you from? And I would tell him like, "Oh, I'm from America, the US." And he's suddenly kind of look up and he asks like, "Are you Korean? Like, are you mixed?" And so the taxi driver would kind of look there puzzled, but then find out like, "Yeah, of course I'm mixed." And he thought, "Oh, okay, great." And he'd start talking about like different actors here in Korea who are half Korean, half American, or half Korean and half another country, and how popular they're getting. And he was very surprised at how well I could speak Korean. And so we had lots of conversations about that. And later on, I've had different experiences too. Like when I go shopping, if I only speak in English, the retailers and the workers don't really want to deal with me. Even in the English-speaking areas like Itaewon here, it was never really sought after. So I would get ignored a lot of times. And then as soon as I spoke Korean, like the workers would run right over to me. And I would just kind of be in that kind of strange situation where I don't know what I would do. Do I want to buy it or do I want to go somewhere else to buy it? Because it was really rude. And of course, I had to remember people here in Korea don't really speak English. If they hear only English, they don't want to help because they're scared. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to speak. And I've had that happen quite a few times where I'll go into the local Starbucks or maybe like a McDonald's or, another fast food restaurant. And the workers would see me and my friends and then they'd look at each other and they think, "Hey, you scored good on your English test. You should talk to them." And then, no, you got better. You got a higher score in this. You should do it. And I would just go up and speak to them in Korean and you'd see their faces like, look at how relieved they are. Like, "Oh my God, great. They speak Korean. Perfect." Instead of having to speak English, they've got that fear. They are definitely more comfortable speaking Korean. So, as a foreigner in Korea, you're going to have a lot of difficulties. You're going to have a lot of people looking at you strangely. And that's going to be expected. I hate to say it, but you just have to expect it. And you have to be able to roll with it. You cannot be kind of soft-skinned. People are going to say things that are going to seem rude. Like we talked about before with the culture shock episode where trainers at gyms will tell you, like, you're straight out fat, you have to be here. So don't be surprised by things people say out here. If you get strange looks from people on the bus, on the street and stuff, just kind of ignore it, because they're kind of curious about who you are and what you're doing here, but they're also very scared to come just speak out to you flat out. So don't worry about it if you come out here and visit. It's definitely an experience, but again, they don't mean to be rude by it. And we have to expect that. It's their country. It's a Korean country. They should speak Korean, of course. So thank you guys for listening today. I know it's a little different, but that's kind of my experience as a foreigner here. There are other situations I've been in, which I'll talk about in future episodes, but that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, whatever site or whatever way you listen to the podcast, feel free to review it. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to send me an email at learnkoreanwithdavid@gmail.com. And don't forget to check our Instagram, which is learnkoreanwithdavidIG. Thanks for listening. I'll see you guys next time. 다음에 봐요.